Hello, and welcome to the Hidden Keys to Hormone Balance, a root cause reset for perimenopausal women. Let's dive right in. I imagine this sounds familiar. Your alarm goes off way too early, but your mind is already reeling with your to do list. So you roll out of bed, and your first priority is, of course, the coffee maker because your eyes actually have to open in order to get through this day, right? But you skip breakfast because that to do list, right? Or you're getting the kids or the husband out of the house. And then you immediately hit the desk. You dive straight into emails, calls, clients. You're productive, but a little irritable, a little foggy, but you power through. And by mid afternoon, maybe even by mid morning, you're reaching for another cup of coffee, maybe a handful of something sweet as you walk by that candy bowl, or maybe just praying no one needs anything else from you. Maybe all of the above. You used to feel sharp, in control, energized, but now it feels like your brain and your body are lagging a little bit behind your ambition. And no matter how much you push through, your energy, your mood, and likely your waistline are not cooperating anymore. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone and you're not broken, but you are depleted. You're burned out, and you're likely missing the hormone support you were never taught to give yourself, which is what I'm going to share with you today. I'm Brooke. I'm a functional nutritionist and fitness specialist of 15 years. And after years of traditional personal training, my transition to focusing on women's health through a functional lens really stemmed from the recognition of gaps in support and education available to women during this significant hormonal transition. And too often, women are navigating their health and finding themselves facing a wide range of symptoms and challenges with minimal guidance from the medical community. And witnessing this firsthand, this lack of support, I became really passionate about being able to offer women a holistic approach that truly addresses their unique needs during this time. The prevalence of misinformation and truly predatory tactics within the diet industry only really reinforced my commitment to providing women with evidence based strategies that prioritize their long term health and well being over quick fixes. By diving into functional nutrition and a holistic approach, I want to empower women to navigate these hormonal struggles, weight loss resistance, thyroid problems, and everything else in between with confidence, being able to reclaim control over their bodies and get back to the vibrant, fulfilling lifestyle that you are so deserving of. My first real experience with hormonal disruption started years ago. I was competing in bikini bodybuilding competitions, and I thought it was the picture of discipline and health, right? I was tracking macros, I was training way too much, twice a day. I was doing everything right to get where I needed to be. But after my last competition at nationals, I got 9th out of 56, just saying. But I lost my cycle for about 9 months. I gained 30 pounds in just 2 months after competing, and I couldn't get it off no matter how perfectly I followed my plan. I followed macros, I tried fasting, I trained harder. This left me napping on my chiropractor's table where I worked at lunchtime and feeling worse than ever. In fact, I lost my cycle again and I never lost the weight. My body was just waving its white flag. It was at this point that I really had to stop and reevaluate what my goal was. I wanted to feel good. I didn't just want to be skinny again. I eventually wanted to have kids. I, at that point, didn't know much about hormones, but I did know that I needed a regular cycle at the very least. So I made some shifts. I stopped working out just to burn calories and instead to be strong and capable and have fun. I started doing some Zumba. I started working with one of the chiropractors who's also a trainer in order to switch things up. And I really started to prioritize nourishing my body versus just trying to hit these numbers, eating low calorie. And thankfully, I was able to get pregnant about 2 years after that, had no problems with weight gain or losing it post baby. And while I actually didn't lose much weight during that 2 years, I did have some major compositional shifts. But what drove me to really dig deeper and learn more about women's hormones after this was what I started to recognize with my clients who were ages 30 plus. Again, I was a traditional personal trainer, so we mainly focused on workouts. We'd meet together, whatever, 2, 3 days a week. And women in their 20s would come to me, they'd start working out, they'd cut down on drinking a little, maybe add in some protein, and they would see amazing results within a few weeks. Women over 30, however, would come in, and while they would be getting stronger, the fat loss piece never really came together. It didn't come together for them as easily. Then they would start sharing some of the symptoms that they were dealing on top of the stubborn belly fat, right? How their doctors would just tell them that they're just getting older and it's normal. And this is what really drove me into the functional field so that I could learn more about what was actually happening and how I could better support them as there was clearly this gap. While getting certified in functional nutrition, going through our foundational labs training, we had to get them done on ourselves. I was pregnant with my second, and getting those results back, I learned that I was in stage 3 adrenal fatigue, among a whole host of other underlying factors that were causing some of this major fatigue. I had no clue. All I felt was tired. I thought this was normal for, new moms, which it is, but my test results were not. This was extremely eye-opening because it gave me insight into areas of the body that I really wasn't supporting intentionally, which were contributing to how I felt. And obviously, being pregnant, a mom of littles and nursing, etc., it all comes with its own obstacles. But it gave me some more specific steps in order to support those areas of my body while navigating this phase. And it really opened my eyes to what most women are missing in their journey through hormonal shifts and imbalances and the symptoms that they're experiencing. The truth is that what most women are experiencing in your 30s and 40s, it isn't just stress on the body, right? Like it was in my experience. It's perimenopause. And no one prepared us for what that actually means either, right? It's not just the weight or the mood shifts. It's not, it's there's so much that comes with it. It's brain fog, it's decision fatigue, it's irritability. And you can't afford to lead your life or, work in your business or work for someone else's business in burnout. Most people don't realize that perimenopause can start as early as your 30s, and it's not a short phase. It can last 7 to 12 years before menopause actually hits, which is technically defined as a single day that you haven't had a period in 12 months. And after that, you're postmenopausal. But that doesn't mean that the symptoms stop. So here's what's actually happening under the surface. So as we move into perimenopause, ovaries start to slow their production of estrogen and progesterone and eventually testosterone. And these are the key hormones that regulate so much more than just our cycle. Okay, but this transition with estrogen, it doesn't happen in a smooth, predictable way. Instead, it's a bit like a roller coaster. The brain, specifically the hypothalamus and the pituitary, is still trying to keep things in balance. And so it sends stronger and more frequent signals to the ovaries to keep producing. Sometimes the ovaries respond and it's great, and sometimes they don't. The result, though, are these dramatic ups and downs that feel like hormonal whiplash. This might show up as feeling more anxious or moody, maybe crying out of something out of the blue, right? Unusually irritable, even when you're really trying to hold it together. Your energy isn't as reliable. Sometimes you'll wake up after, 8 hours of solid sleep and you'll feel like you need to stay in bed. Your afternoon coffee doesn't even touch that afternoon crash anymore. Initially, periods usually start to get closer together and then ultimately they get further and further apart. And, like I said before, though, these fluctuations don't just affect your mood or your cycle. They ripple outward, impacting nearly every system in your body. And this is the piece that is so often missed in our traditional Western approach to hormones. We're not just dealing with estrogen and progesterone. We're talking about your entire internal ecosystem being thrown off, your immune system, your digestion tract, your detoxification systems, your energy production, and your nervous system. The hidden components of hormones, right? And this is how you are going to address them. But these are all impacted, and these changes, Those are all impacted by these changes and your lifestyle going into this time period. And so they need to be equally addressed. Okay, so here is where things start to make a lot of sense for women, especially if you've been doing all of the right things and still not getting results. Think of your nervous system. Step one is going to be regulate your nervous system. Think of your nervous system like your body's command center. It has two main modes. This is repair mode, right? Parasympathetic, rest and digest, and survival mode. This is your fight or flight, your freeze response. And here's why this matters. Your body can only truly repair and replenish and balance hormones when it feels safe, when it's in this parasympathetic rest and digest state. This is the mode where your body says, okay, we're good. We can focus on hormone production, digestion, detoxification, restoring energy. Even if even fat loss, right? If this is what is needed or what is trying to be achieved. But if your nervous system is stuck in that wired go, 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 constantly stressed out survival mode, which let's be honest, most women in perimenopause most women in general, then your body downshifts all of those repair functions. Okay. It's like a circuit breaker gets flipped. Your body's priority becomes get through the day. So instead of hormonal balance, right, or fat loss, okay, you get irregular periods, you get trouble sleeping, you have mood swings, you get weight gain around the middle. That visceral fat covers your organs, increases cardiovascular risk. We have digestive issues, food sensitivities, poor digestion, but bloating, fatigue. The fatigue that no amount of coffee fixes, because in survival mode, your body isn't prioritizing hormone regulation. It's prioritizing cortisol. It's prioritizing survival. And this is why I say that before we focus on the perfect diet or the ideal workout plan or even hormone supplementation, we have to regulate first. When your nervous system feels safe, everything works better. Your body becomes responsive again. You sleep deeper. Your digestion improves. Your cycle evens out. You stop craving sugar all the time. Your metabolism actually turns back on. So if you've ever thought, why is nothing working anymore? The answer might be not to do more, it might actually be to slow down and to regulate and support your adrenals and your nervous system first. And this is where the magic happens. Here is the piece that most women aren't told. Once the ovaries begin to slow down, the adrenal glands are supposed to step in and help produce your backup hormones. But if your adrenals are already burnt out because you've been in survival mode, juggling business, family, never-ending to-do list, right? They can't pick up this slack. And this is where that tired but wired feeling, that where you can't fall asleep, right? You get through the day on caffeine and willpower, but you're crashing by 3 p.m. Your workouts don't feel energizing anymore. You're just tanking. You might even experience anxiety or panic symptoms that come out of nowhere. This is really common from women who have never struggled with this. And this isn't just weakness. It's not just getting older. It's your body asking for support, because when your nervous system is out of balance, everything starts to unravel. And I know this sounds bleak because perimenopause is unavoidable, but here's the empowering part, right? These shifts aren't the end of your vitality. They're the beginning of a new chapter, but only if you learn to work with your body instead of ignoring or fighting against it. And that starts with the understanding of what's actually happening beneath the surface. So you can take back that control, not just of your health, but how you show up in your life. And I'm going to share more step by step on how to do that. So here is the things that you can do in order to support your nervous system regulation on a daily basis. Okay, you don't need an hour-long morning routine or a silent retreat, although if you can, by all means. But what you need are these bite-sized, frequent moments of calm woven throughout your day. Because with anything, consistency beats intensity. So number one is going to be your AM and PM bookends. Your nervous system loves rhythm and routine. So in the morning, right, starting with your hydration, sunlight, keep that phone put away, breath work, right, going for a walk. And then in the evening, your wind down routine, dim the lights, journaling, gentle movement. Okay, these rituals are going to retrain your stress response and improve your sleep, which is going to help repair everything. I'm not going to talk too much about sleep because When you start working on these systems and improving them, oftentimes your sleep will improve without too much effort. But that being said, you also need to prioritize quality sleep like it's your job. Make sure you keep a consistent bedtime. Make sure that you are spending enough time in bed. Next, we have intentional breathing. So really, it doesn't have to be long. You can spend, you can take 3 deep breaths and have that be good. But if you can spend 2 to 5 minutes on this, again, anytime throughout the day, doing like a 4-7-8 breathing. So 4 seconds in, 7-second hold, 8-second out, or box breathing, 4 seconds in, 4-second hold, 4 seconds, 4 seconds out. This actually resets your stress response. It brings your cortisol levels down quickly. You can do it before meals, right before bedtime, during your bedtime routine, before sleep. Those are great. Number 3 is going to be that vagus nerve activation. So doing this daily, things like humming, gargling, singing, right? Turn that radio up, sing. Oh, roll down the windows, get some sunshine. Sing in the shower. These actions actually stimulate your vagus nerve and shift you into that parasympathetic mode. So do it in the car, in the shower, while you're cooking dinner. And then number 3, slowing down before and during meals. Again, take 3 slow, deep breaths. Express your gratitude before first bite. This is going to tell your brain that it's safe to digest, which we'll talk about a little bit more. And then stimulus control. This is huge for especially busy women who are working. I am super guilty of this, but one task at a time. Stop multitasking, mute those unnecessary notifications, limit background noise. Your nervous system isn't designed for 5 simultaneous inputs. If you can put on some 528 hertz music, that can really help shift your brain and your body into that parasympathetic state as well. This is going to lighten the load on your adrenals and your mental bandwidth. And here's the deal. This is step number 1 for a reason, because there is a ripple down effect of the nervous system regulation on the entire body. Okay. So when you're always in that go mode, you get stuck producing your stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. That constant output leads to burnout. Okay. That bone deep exhaustion that is so common in perimenopause. But regulating the nervous system is going to lower the demand on your adrenals. Okay. That allows cortisol to come down, and it allows your entire body to get into that deeper rest, that repair, that steady energy. Okay. Your liver requires a parasympathetic state, that rest and digest, to function optimally. Chronic stress slows that down, which means that hormones like estrogen build up, they recirculate, they overload the liver. So this allows the liver to do its job. Okay. Your digestive tract, it only functions when you are in that relaxed state. It's called rest and digest for a reason, okay? So if you're eating in the stress state, you are reducing blood flow to the gut. You are reducing enzyme and stomach acid production. You are slowing down your motility, so that movement of food through the gut. And this is what leads to that bloating, that constipation. It reduces your nutrient absorption, okay? Regulating your nervous system activates that vagus nerve. Like I said, this is a communication between your brain and the gut. So your digestion improves when you can do that. Your food sensitivities decrease. Like I said, hormones don't just drop because of age, okay? They're dropping because of stress. Hormones become dysregulated in response to stress because they're put on the back burner. That energy is rerouted to cortisol, okay? Chronic stress can decrease your progesterone. It can tank your DHA, which is your parent hormone. It triggers inflammation throughout your entire body. Okay, so long story short, regulating your nervous system creates hormonal stability, not just supports production, but it signals safety to your brain and your ovaries, allowing for smoother transitions through perimenopause and less reactive symptoms. So step number 2 is going to be stabilizing your blood sugar and replenishing key minerals. So if the nervous system is nervous system regulation is the foundation, blood sugar and minerals are the scaffolding. These create physiological stability through the body that it needs to actually produce, process, and detox hormones, especially during perimenopause when the metabolism is shifting. So as estrogen and progesterone start to fluctuate, your insulin sensitivity naturally decreases, which means you're more likely to see these blood sugar fluctuations, spikes and crashes, even from meals or foods that didn't used to be an issue. And when your blood sugar is constantly spiking and crashing, your adrenals are forced to produce more cortisol to correct it, because it is a glucose regulator as well. So this burns through things like sodium and potassium, okay, that are required for adrenal function. Then your liver becomes overloaded as it tries to manage that glucose regulation and that excess cortisol production. Then your gut becomes inflamed because as blood sugar swings feed pathogenic bacteria and yeast. Your mood, your sleep, your energy and cravings, they go on a roller coaster and your mineral stores get depleted because it takes key nutrients to buffer those blood sugar highs and stabilize the lows. Okay. Minerals are catalysts for these enzymatic processes, right? They're cofactors, they're needed, and they indirectly impact hormone production in this way. So you're experiencing things like intense cravings, especially for sugar or carbs, those afternoon slumps, especially if you get hangry, waking up between 2 and 4 a.m., anxiety, shakiness between meals, feeling like you need caffeine to function. This is your blood sugar telling you things are unstable, okay? And that you are likely burning through essential minerals at the same time. So every time your blood sugar spikes, it uses magnesium, sodium, potassium, and calcium to help bring it back down. And if your intake and absorption, I'm going to emphasize that if your absorption isn't keeping up with demand, you're under a ton of stress, you're not absorbing nutrients well, you become mineral depleted, which only worsens hormonal symptoms. So minerals like magnesium is a huge one for progesterone production, blood sugar regulation, the nervous system. Sodium and potassium, like I mentioned before, those are adrenal minerals. So they support cellular hydration, right? They balance fluid in and out of the cell. That is also kind of potentiation for cellular activation and being able to utilize those nutrients and allowing the cells to do what they're meant to do. Calcium and zinc, this is needed for ovulation, mood balance, huge one during perimenopause, thyroid function. Okay, so supporting minerals helps stabilize your blood sugar. Stabilizing your blood sugar helps preserve your minerals, and together they help support your adrenals, your detox systems, your thyroid, and your metabolism. So, how do we support blood sugar in real life and mineral support? Again, it's not about perfection. Steady, doable support that feels, that just step by step in your daily life. So having balanced meals with the PFC rule, right? Every meal should include a protein, a fat, and a carb, preferably a high fiber carb. So aiming for 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal, things like eggs, meat, fish, collagen, Greek yogurt. Having healthy fats, things like quality fats like avocado, olive oil, nuts, ghee, and then your carbs, like I said, should be high fiber, slow digesting whole foods, things like sweet potatoes, squashes, fruit, legumes, root veggies. Those are all fabulous. These are going to help slow down the glucose response. Okay, they're going to support thyroid function. They reduce stress on the liver, the adrenals. Okay, and then the order in which you eat them also is important. So eating fiber, protein first, fiber, protein, and fats first is going to be the best way to slow down the digestion of any kind of carbohydrates. And then going into your carbs from there. So making sure that you are never eating naked carbs, never eating carbs alone. If they're complex carbohydrates, then that's going to be better because the fiber in them is going to slow it down. But if you compare it with a fat or a protein first, that's going to support that even further. And then starting your day with blood sugar friendly breakfast. So don't fast and slam coffee in an empty stomach. This is going to spike your cortisol, it throws off your blood sugar for the rest of the day with that energy crash in the afternoon. So making sure to have a good breakfast with that PFC rule. And then mineralize your hydration. Plain water is not enough, especially if you're stressed, you're working out, sweating. So adding a pinch of Himalayan or sea salt to your home cooked meals. You can use electrolyte powders, sodium, potassium, magnesium. Try and avoid the ones that have too much high sugar. And for anyone not already eating mostly home cooked meals with whole foods, low sodium ones are going to be best. You can try out things like adrenal cocktails, things like orange juice, coconut water, sea salt, kind of really good for a mid-morning, mid-afternoon drink over that cup of coffee, that second cup of coffee. And then magnesium is really a non-negotiable in perimenopause. Over 50% of women are deficient, especially during perimenopause. And like I said, this is a catalyst or support to over 300 enzymatic processes. So that includes hormone production, stress regulation, detoxification, using a magnesium glycinate or a malate in the evening for calm sleep. You can also rotate with like magnesium lotions or Epsom salt baths. If brain fog is a big issue, you could couple the glycinate with an L-threonate. Those are really great. And then strategic snacking. Snacking throughout the day, making sure you're eating every, 3 to 4 hours at the absolute most, but make it a PFC meal. Snack doesn't just mean a cookie or it doesn't just mean crackers. Okay. Keep it balanced. Things like hard boiled eggs, olives, Greek yogurt, berry, turkey roll ups, apples with peanut butter. Those are all going to help keep your brain focused, prevents reactional, emotional eating, and then it prevents those big blood sugar spikes and crashes. Number 3, supporting gut health. So we tend to think of the gut as just the place where food is digested and absorbed, but in reality, your gut is one of the most important, centers for your entire body. It is where hormones are activated, detoxed, and even regulated, especially estrogen and cortisol. So if your gut is sluggish, inflamed, leaky, out of balance, your hormones will be too. And this is part of, I think, the place where women feel like symptoms came out of nowhere. But if you look back, your digestion has probably been off for quite a while, at least a little bit, and they were just symptoms that you ignored. So, no, the solution is not just take a probiotic. And in fact, for some women, taking the wrong probiotic at the wrong time can actually make things worse. It can cause more bloating, more histamine reactions, more fatigue. So, gut health isn't just about adding in another supplement, it's about supporting the entire system in a way that feels doable, consistent, of course, because when your gut feels safe, nourished, and regular, your body starts to work with you again. Your energy starts to come back, your weight shifts, your brain fog lifts, your hormones can do their job. So, let's talk about what that looks like and how we can build better gut function. So, estrogen specifically plays a direct role in gut function, from how quickly food moves through your digestive tract to how your body breaks down the nutrients to the health of your microbiome. There is a whole family of gut bacteria called the estrobolome that helps metabolize estrogen. And so when estrogen levels start to swing, your digestion will become more sensitive. This might mean bloating after meals or foods that never used to bother you. Suddenly you're reacting to foods that, like I said, you've eaten your whole life, haven't been an issue. You're feeling like your bowels are on their own schedule or no schedule at all. And it's not that your gut forgot how to work, it's that your hormones are really impacting it, from your stomach acid production to your microbial balance. So if you're feeling gassy, bloated, uncomfortable when you eat, even if you're eating clean, because that's not always the answer, it's not in your head, it's likely your hormones. So what can we do about this? Again, daily practices. This isn't a take this for that kind of solution, but step number 1 is mineral hydration first thing, right? Starting in the morning, adding sea salt, lemon, trace minerals to your first glass of water, making sure that water is the first thing you're drinking. Another, side aspect is brushing your teeth first thing in the morning, getting rid of that bad bacteria, making sure you're not washing it down into the gut. And then go back and have your blood sugar friendly breakfast. You should be eating within 60 to 90 minutes of waking up. This is going to help reduce your cortisol response, and it's going to help support that blood sugar, all of which is going to help support your microbial balance. And then the nervous system support. So slowing down during your meals. Do your nervous system support before your meals. This is going to help with enzyme production. It's going to help with stomach acid production, which is going to help with nutrient absorption, food breakdown. It's going to help improve your digestion overall. Making sure that you're chewing your bites 15 to 20 times. Then put your fork down between bites. Actually think about what you're eating, right? Be mindful. And then 25 to 35 grams of fiber per day. The more diverse you can get, the better, because you're feeding different families of of microbes in the gut. Then you want to make sure you're incorporating fermented foods, 1 to 2 tablespoons per day. If you can get a variety of them, even better. So things like sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, kombucha. You really only need like 2 to 4 tablespoons of kombucha at a time. So be aware of that. That's a common kind of misconception. And then movement. movement is amazing for the gut. So you can exercise, of course, but even a 10-minute walk after meals, that can help with digestion. It helps with blood sugar. So you'll see how a lot of these are interconnected, right? Because we are not machines with different pieces that don't work together. All of this is one big system. And step number 4, supporting your detox pathways. So, one of the biggest misconceptions about hormone health is that the issue is always that it's low, right? Hormones are low, especially in perimenopause. But in perimenopause, the problem is really often not how much you're making, it's how well your body is processing and clearing it. Your hormones are the messengers, right? They're meant to do their job and then be broken down and pushed out of the body. But if they can't move out, they recirculate. This leads to symptoms like mood swings, the irritability, rage, PMS, or puffiness, or water retention, headaches, heavy periods, extreme fatigue, that belly fat. Okay. And the common denominator is sluggish detox pathways. Your liver is mainly responsible for filtering and metabolizing used up hormones, environmental toxins, medications, alcohol, excess sugar, inflammatory byproducts, so much more, right? But the problem is that it's easily overwhelmed, especially if you are under chronic stress, because it also has to clear cortisol. You're constipated, okay? If you're not having regular full bowel movements, your gut cannot eliminate these hormonal byproducts. If you're nutrient depleted, your liver needs these enzymes, these key vitamins and minerals to function. If you are overexposed to endocrine disruptors, plastics, fragrance, pesticides, common beauty products with phthalates, parabens, when detox slows down, estrogen especially gets reabsorbed, it recirculates. This leads to estrogen dominance in the body, even if your total estrogen production is declining. So, what can you do? Again, everybody hears detox and thinks juice cleanses, but this is not about that or starving yourself. Your body has this built-in detox pathway, okay? Your livers, your kidneys, your digestive system, your skin, your lungs, right? They're working 24/7 to process and eliminate toxins and excess hormones. So here's what actually supports it. And it's not as sexy as, a $300 supplement kit, but it works. So step number 1 is hydration. Your body cannot flush out toxins if you're not getting enough water to move through it. This is the taxi that is carrying toxins and driving them out through sweat and urine. Okay. It allows fiber to absorb water and do its job and clear out the colon as things move through, as your excretions move through the colon. As a minimum, you want to aim for half your body weight in ounces of water every single day. Ideally, start in the morning. So if you're 160 pounds, that's 80 ounces more. If you're active or sweating a lot, bonus points if you put minerals in them. Okay. Number 2, pooping daily is a non-negotiable. At least one good Bristol 4 poop. There's a chart I can share with you. But this is how your body clears out excess estrogen, environmental toxins. If you are constipated, those hormones can recirculate. They can make perimenopausal symptoms way worse. So you want at least one complete bowel movement a day, ideally at the same time each day, right? If that's not happening, we want to check your fiber intake, aim for that 25 to 35 grams. Don't be afraid to supplement if needed. So things like magnesium glycinate, magnesium citrate, you can get them in, powders, capsules, whatever. Go slow with it. But also I would suggest hitting that 25 to 35 grams of fiber at least. And you can supplement the last 5 to 10 grams. And then eating your cruciferous vegetables. So things like broccoli, cauliflower sprouts, arugula, kale, these have compounds that actually help your liver process and break down estrogen into forms your body can safely excrete. Things like DIM and sulforaphane. So, and no, you don't have to eat a bucket of raw kale. Just get in a serving or 2 of these veggies every day. And then you can cook them for a little bit easier digestion. And then we want to reduce the input, right? Reduce where your toxins are coming from. So this one's huge because the more toxins you bring in, obviously, the harder your system has to work to get rid of it. And so some of the biggest offenders are going to be plastics, right? Food storage, water bottles, synthetic fragrances, candles, air fresheners, perfume, toxic personal care, cleaning products. You don't have to be perfect, right? Just slowly start swapping these things out as you run out of the old one and get a new one. And then finally, already, mentioned, but honorable mention is protein. This is not just for muscle. It's actually a cofactor in detoxification. Your liver needs specific amino acids from protein to neutralize and eliminate toxins. So if you're under eating protein, your detox pathways are also underpowered. Most women in perimenopause need at least 100 grams a day, sometimes more, but this also supports your blood sugar, metabolism, hormone production, your muscle, right? It's a win across the board. So you don't need a detox tea. You don't need, a special cleanse. You need hydration, daily poops, cruciferous vegetables, less toxic input. And that is how you support your detox in real life. Step number 5, your thyroid, the hormone that controls energy, muscle, and metabolism, what we all want, right? This is a central, this thyroid is the main control center that creates, uses, and conserves energy. It's not just a hormone gland. It is, like I said, the metabolic control center. So when your thyroid function is optimal, your body has the energy to move, build muscle, repair tissue, sustain physical and mental performance. But when it's underperforming even slightly, you're gonna feel it everywhere. And this is why your thyroid health is directly tied to your strength, your stamina, the ability to respond to movement. It affects how well you recover, how easily you build lean muscle, whether you have the energy to get moving in the first place. Okay, it's because if your thyroid is sluggish, your muscle cells don't get the signal to turn on and burn fuel efficiently. You're going to feel sluggish all around. Okay. So for women in their 40s and 50s, this becomes even more complex, right? Moving into like starting in your 30s again, as estrogen and progesterone shift, thyroid sensitivity declines. Estrogen helps the thyroid hormone bind to its receptors, and progesterone helps calm the nervous system to reduce inflammation, both of which support thyroid signaling. And so when these hormones are, in their downward trend, the thyroid also slows down in response. This is adaptive. It's an adaptive response to stress, to nutrient depletion, right? To a nervous system overload. And to make matters worse, it's even more confusing when they're told their thyroid labs are normal, even when they're experiencing these hallmark signs of, slower recovery, difficulty building maintaining muscle, extreme fatigue, unexplained weight gain, low motivation. Okay. And this is why, you know, uh, this is why functional thyroid testing matters, because looking at TSH doesn't tell us if your body is actually using the thyroid hormone. Thyroid stimulating hormone comes from the brain, it comes from the pituitary gland, and it is the signal to your thyroid to produce the thyroid hormones. But this is the only thing that most doctors test for. Like I said, TSH doesn't tell us if the body is actually producing or using the thyroid hormone, where it counts inside the mitochondria and the brain, right, and your muscle. And so, right, you need to understand more than more than one number and more than one look at these levels to get a full picture. So, are you converting T4 to T3? T4 is the storage form of your thyroid hormone. That is what is initially produced from the thyroid. And then it has to be converted to T3, and it requires nutrients to do that. It requires iodine and selenium to do that. Okay, specifically, and among other things. But and if you're not getting those things, if that something is disrupted in that conversion, you have a thyroid issue. Okay, are you inflamed or stressed or depleted? Okay, this can cause T3 to be elevated. T3 is like putting the brakes, or reverse T3, it's like putting the brakes on your active T3. And then, are your cells actually using your thyroid hormone? So T3 uptake, are they able to actually, are your receptors available to take in this active thyroid hormone? Do you have a calcium shell maybe that's blocking absorption of the hormone into the cell? So you might have all of the components, but it's not able to be used. And then, is your body attacking the thyroid with antibodies? Also really common in perimenopause. Your thyroid peroxidase, your thyroglobulin antibodies. Okay, these will cause disruption in the thyroid function. So, looking at this, right, your muscles need your thyroid hormone to burn fuel efficiently, to contract and recover. They regulate oxygen and nutrient flow. So if any of those numbers are off, right, if that is not functioning well, then it's not being converted inside the cells, then you can end up, right, feeling like you're doing everything right and still feel exhausted and still not see results. But also, right, muscle is support for that thyroid. So when you have more muscle in your body, you have better insulin sensitivity, which helps stabilize your blood sugar, one of the key drivers of thyroid dysfunction. You produce less inflammation. This allows your thyroid hormones to convert and activate more efficiently. Okay, you improve your resting metabolic rate, which reduces the stress signals that your body is sending out when calories are low or energy is inconsistent. Okay, and here's a huge one. Muscles store minerals like selenium, magnesium, and zinc, all of which are required for healthy thyroid function. So, building muscle, maintaining muscle is not just a fitness goal, it's a hormonal strategy. When you have this lean tissue, your thyroid doesn't have to work so hard to keep up. Your body feels safer, you get out of stress mode, you recover better, you start burning fat instead of burning out. So, how can we do this? The good news is that there are so many ways to improve your thyroid function, improve your energy, your muscle quality, and this starts with getting enough of the building blocks for it to function. You have to be eating enough protein, enough carbohydrates needed for proper thyroid conversion, enough selenium and iodine to support that conversion, enough of the minerals to support that conversion. Okay. Then you need movement, but the right kind. Okay. First of all, don't underestimate the power of walking. Getting those 7 to 10K steps each day should absolutely be a priority. Okay. And then you have to be strength training to your capacity, which for some people starts out pretty minimally, but that's okay. Ideally, it's ultimately going to be about 2 to 3 days a week for at least 20 to 30 minutes. Okay. Pushing yourself. Limiting your things like HIIT, group classes, spin, CrossFit, etc. These can all be major stressors on the body during this period of time. If you're going to do those things 1 to 2 times max per week, and if you find your body isn't responding well to it, then back down. True HIIT should really only be about 15 to 20 minutes anyways, so these hour-long classes are technically MIT or moderate intensity interval training, and for most women, it's too much. Then, of course, coming back to the first step, which was the nervous system, making sure that you're getting intentional recovery with yoga, mobility, sauna, steam room, hot tub time, stretching, okay? Utilizing these breathing practices alongside that to signal safety back to the thyroid so it doesn't stay in that protect and conserve mode. And then avoiding long periods of intermittent fasting or fasted cardio, these can really wreak havoc on an already stressed out system. Step number 6, better labs and better answers. Most women who come to me have had labs run, but here's the truth. Conventional lab work more often than not misses the full picture, especially when it comes to hormone imbalances in perimenopause. You've probably heard from your doctor, everything looks normal, your labs are fine, let's just wait and see. Here's a pill, here's an antidepressant, here's some birth control, right? But what's really going on is that standard labs only flag for disease, right? Not dysfunction. They're using lab reference ranges, which is an average of the most unhealthy population in the world, right? They use lab averages of results that they have gotten from the average population, which ours is one of the most unhealthy in the world. And they rarely test hormones at the right time. Okay. They don't test cortisol patterns. They only test a single AM reading if they tested at all. They're usually not testing free cortisol. They're testing free and bound, which doesn't mean it's usable by the body. They're rarely checking full thyroid panels like we talked about, right? TSH only, not free T3, T4, reverse T3 antibodies. They skip insulin. They only test for glucose. They don't evaluate nutrient status like magnesium, zinc, copper, B vitamins. They often don't test your sex hormones unless you're already menopausal. And even then, if they do test your hormones, they don't know where you're at in your cycle. They don't ask you, they don't have you plan for this, which actually determines what your levels should be at. So, in functional nutrition, even in blood work, we're looking for patterns, not just red flags. But we also use a range of functional labs that give you real answers. These labs look at how your body is functioning in each of these systems that we just talked about and how we can best gives us answers of how we can best support it, right? We're not just looking for whether it's broken. We're helping identify these early imbalances and dysfunction before they become diagnosis, which is what opened my eyes when I first entered this world. So, main labs to know about that we usually start with. First is the HTMA, it's the hair tissue mineral analysis. And this is a 2 to 3 month test of your mineral status. And it tells us how well your body is handling stress, your thyroid function, some adrenal reserve, blood sugar balance. It's really especially helpful for women who feel burnt out, anxious, inflamed. And then the Dutch test. So this tracks estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, tells us how well you're metabolizing them. Includes a daily cortisol curve, right, which is essential for adrenal and sleep patterns. And then number 3 is the GI map. This is a gastrointestinal microbial assay plus. This is a comprehensive at-home stool test. It looks at gut pathogens, beneficial bacteria, digestion markers, inflammation. This is really key for women with bloating, IBS, fatigue, even estrogen dominance, since estrogen is cleared through the gut. And then OAT, or organic acids test. This gives us insight into mitochondrial function, B vitamin status, neurotransmitters, your detox capacity. So this is really great for women with fatigue, anxiety, or those mystery symptoms that don't really show up in blood work. You deserve answers. You're not broken. You're misunderstood. We're understudied, right? Hormone symptoms are communication, not failure. So if you want real insights, I highly encourage you to take our free hormone analysis. There will be a link to this wherever this is shared, and I will make sure that you have access to it. Here's the reality. Thriving in life and in business and your career shouldn't cost you your health, right? You don't need to push through anymore. You need to partner with your body, not battle it. I know this can feel like a lot, but my hope is that it also gives you answers and a path, because I know so many women feel defeated with hormone struggles after seeing so many doctors, so many specialists, even who can't seem to find anything wrong and can't give them answers, right? You're not broken. You're not lazy. You're not unmotivated. You're likely just depleted, misunderstood, and missing the roadmap. So, like I said, if you haven't already taken the hormone analysis, I'm going to post the QR code on the next page. Make sure you scan it, make sure you take it, because thriving in business and in life should not mean sacrificing your body. You can feel clear, confident, and strong again, and you deserve this.